before a single passenger boards, before the casino opens, or the theater fills, or the hot pot restaurant starts its lunch service, before the lights in the corridors are even switched on. An engineer somewhere in Shanghai is staring at a number. It is the weight of a bathroom tile. Not a structural beam, not a turbine housing, not a fuel tank, a tile. A single ceramic tile inside a single bathroom on an upper passenger deck. And it matters. It matters because this ship stacks 24 stories into the sky, and every object placed above the waterline shifts the center of gravity of a vessel carrying over 6,000 human lives. Get the math wrong, and the ship becomes unpredictable in heavy weather. So every component, from a 50-ton propulsion unit down to that tile, is logged inside a centralized 3-dimensional weight distribution model. If any upper deck overshoots its weight allocation by even a fraction of a percent, the engineering team has to compensate somewhere else before the deck is sealed. This is not how you build a cargo ship. A cargo ship puts its weight low in the hull, beneath the waterline where physics stabilizes the vessel naturally. A cruise ship does the opposite. A cruise ship stacks restaurants, theaters, casinos, and swimming pools high above the ocean and asks them to stay perfectly balanced in a North Sea storm. It defies the logic of naval architecture at every turn, which is exactly why, for 6 decades, only 3 shipyards on the planet had mastered it. 1 in Italy, 1 in France, 1 in Germany. Everyone else was locked out. That is what makes what happened in Shanghai worth a close look. Not just that China built a large cruise ship. That part sounds manageable. What matters is how they built it, what the first attempt actually cost them in ways that never made the headlines, and what the second ship, currently at sea right now completing its trials, quietly reveals about where all of this is going. Part 1, the club nobody could join large cruise ships, hold a specific designation within the global maritime industry. They are classified as the most complex merchant vessels in existence. Not the largest, the most complex. They outrank aircraft carriers in sheer parts coordination. Building one requires simultaneous mastery of structural naval engineering, interior architecture at the scale of a hotel, propulsion and electrical systems, environmental compliance across international jurisdictions, and a supply chain so specialized that many of its components are manufactured by fewer than a handful of companies worldwide. For 60 years, that combination kept the industry locked inside Western Europe. Meyer-Werft in Germany, Fincantieri in Italy, Chantier's de l'Atlantique in France. These 3 names built almost every large cruise ship currently carrying passengers anywhere on Earth. The knowledge required was not published in any manual. It was accumulated across generations of engineers, absorbed into institutional memory, refined through hard failure over decades, and protected by geography, contract, and simple scarcity. Carnival Royal Caribbean MSC Norwegian, the largest cruise operators in the world. All of them went to the same 3 shipyards for every major vessel because there was nowhere else to go. China State Shipbuilding Corporation decided to change that. The long-term investment program behind both ships is estimated at $10 billion, not just for the vessels themselves, for the entire industrial ecosystem required to build them. The training pipelines for engineers who had never worked on cruise ships. The domestic supplier development program for manufacturers who had never built to marine certification standards. The design and simulation software, the tooling, and above all, the accumulated institutional knowledge that cannot simply be purchased or copied. It had to be grown from nothing over years through trial and through error. The first result was the Adora Magic City, China's first domestically built large cruise ship. It entered commercial service on January the 1st, 2024. The second result is its larger sister, the Adora Flora City, which began its 12-day sea trials out of Shanghai on May the 15th, 2026. Delivery is scheduled for November the 6th this year. 2 ships. 2 very different stories about what was learned between them. And the second story is the one most coverage has missed. Part 220, 5 million pieces. The Adora Magic City contains 20 5 million individual components. Give that a moment. A Boeing 747, one of the most sophisticated aircraft ever mass-produced, contains approximately 5 million parts. The Magic City has 5 times that. A modern high-speed bullet train contains around 2 million parts. The Magic City has 13 times that number. 25 million individual components, every single one of them designed to a specification, sourced through a supply chain, shipped to a yard in Shanghai, and installed inside one hull. To keep those 25 million parts working together, the ship runs on 107 distinct operational systems integrating 55,000 sets of specialized equipment. Connecting those systems requires 4,750 kilometers of electrical cable running through the vessel's interior. Laid end to end, that cable run would stretch across the continental United States from coast to coast. 365 kilometers of pipelines carry water, fuel, waste, and refrigerants through the ship. 120 kilometers of air ducts move conditioned air to every cabin, corridor, and public space on board. The physical scale of the Magic City is easier to absorb in comparisons than in raw numbers. The ship stretches 323.6 meters from bow to stern. That is roughly 3.5 American football fields placed end to end. Its beam, the measurement across the widest point of the hull, is 37.2 meters. It rises 72.2 meters above the waterline, the equivalent of a 24-story building, moving through open ocean. Gross tonnage registers between 135,000 and 136,200 tons. The ship accommodates a maximum of 5,246 passengers across 2,125 guest staterooms, supported by approximately 1,400 crew members housed in 701 dedicated crew cabins. 16 passenger decks, 40,000 square meters of lifestyle and public space. That includes the largest duty-free retail complex currently at sea, a theater seating 970, 5 guests, 4 deck water parks, and amenities that made clear from the outset exactly which market this ship was targeting: mahjong lounges and authentic hot pot restaurants. Not token additions for marketing photographs. Genuine facilities reflecting the preferences of the Chinese domestic traveler, a market that before these ships had almost no large-scale cruise infrastructure aimed at it. The Magic City also operates as the world's first large cruise ship integrated into a continuous land-to-sea 5G and satellite network, delivering gigabit-level connection speeds even in remote waters. For the demographic the ship was designed to attract, connectivity was not an amenity, it was a baseline requirement. The safety engineering reflects the same granular precision applied everywhere else. 20 double-deck lifeboats, each measuring 13.35 meters in length, each rated for 314 people at capacity. Total evacuation coverage extends to all passengers and crew within the international maritime window. That number was not estimated from prior ships. It was calculated, certified, and tested. Part 3. What the first ship actually cost the Adora Magic City was a masterclass in discovering what you do not yet know. That statement is not a criticism. It is a description of how every major industrial first works. You build the thing once, at enormous cost and difficulty, and you find every gap between your assumptions and the reality of execution. Then you encode those lessons into the second attempt. The distance between the Magic City and the Flora City, measured in construction speed, supply chain independence, and design efficiency, tells you exactly how wide those gaps were. The Magic City sourced roughly 30% of its interior components domestically within China. The other 70% came from the established European supply ecosystem, the same specialized manufacturers who had been supplying Fincantieri and Meyer-Werft for decades. That dependency was not a strategic misstep. It was the unavoidable cost of a genuine first attempt. Elevator systems engineered to marine certification standards. Entertainment platform hardware. Balcony glazing rated for ocean exposure. These are not general manufacturing products. They are niche items produced by suppliers who built their expertise over the same decades the European shipyards built theirs. Developing a domestic Chinese industry capable of meeting those specifications required years of parallel investment alongside the construction of the first ship. That investment ran in the background between 2022 and 2026. While the Magic City was being completed, outfitted, tested, and delivered, the supplier development program was quietly building the industrial base that would make the second ship different. Part 4. The second ship changes the math. The Adora Flora City is larger. That is the easy headline. But the numbers underneath the headline are where the actual story lies. Gross tonnage increases to 1,900 tons. Hull length extends to 341 meters, 17.4 meters longer than the Magic City. That additional length alters the hydrodynamic profile of the hull for improved fuel efficiency at cruising speed. Maximum passenger capacity sits at 5,230, 2 guests across 2,130 cabins, with the layout optimized toward larger luxury suite formats rather than simply packing in more rooms. Indoor public space grows by 735 square meters. Outdoor recreation decks add nearly 2,000 square meters. The central atrium is double the size of its predecessor. The environmental systems received significant upgrades. Additional desulfurization and denitrification units now meet international Tier 3 emissions standards, which is the compliance threshold required to operate in heavily regulated European and North American waters. That certification was not an accident. It opens markets the Magic City cannot currently enter. The Flora City deploys a paperless digital operations ecosystem, smart service robots operating throughout passenger corridors, and an artificial intelligence-driven boarding and disembarkation system designed to reduce customs processing times at terminal. Technology has moved from a feature of the ship to a structural element of how the ship is operated. But none of that is the headline. The headline is what happened during construction. Engineers used a complete 3-dimensional digital model of the ship throughout the entire build process, from initial design through final outfitting. That virtual shipbuilding methodology reduced late-stage physical modifications by 80%. On a vessel of this complexity, that number requires context. Late-stage modifications are the most expensive category of error in cruise ship construction. They occur when a system is installed, and then another system is installed on top of it, and a conflict emerges. Resolving those conflicts after installation means accessing sealed spaces, rerouting cables and pipelines that have already been connected, and requalifying systems that have already passed inspection. Cutting that category of rework by 80% is not an incremental efficiency gain. It fundamentally changes the cost and timeline of the build. The modular cabin construction program delivered a second major acceleration. Over 1,100 prefabricated cabin modules were built off-site and installed as complete units. Under the traditional method, finishing a single cabin interior took 200 labor hours. The modular approach cut that to 50 hours per cabin, a reduction of 75% per unit. Across more than 2,000 cabins, the cumulative effect shortened the total interior outfitting timeline by 8 months. The Flora City, larger and more technically complex than the Magic City, was completed over 20% faster. And then there is the supply chain number. 90% of the Flora City's interior materials, elevator systems, entertainment platforms, and balcony structures were sourced from Chinese domestic suppliers. That figure moved from 30% on the first ship to 90% on the second in 4 years. The supplier ecosystem that had to be built in parallel with the Magic City's construction was ready and certified by the time the Flora City broke ground. Part 5. The Routes and What They Mean, November 2026. The Flora City accepts delivery and sales to its home port at the Nansha International Cruise Home Port in Guangzhou. The Magic City is already operating from Shanghai. 2 ships, 2 home ports, 2 different entry points into the same enormous and largely undeveloped market. The Flora City's routes are worth examining in their own right. 5 to 6 day itineraries connect Hong Kong and Vietnam. Premium 9 to 17 day programs thread through Singapore, Malaysia, Brunei, Indonesia, and the Philippines. That arc of destinations follows what historians call the maritime Silk Road, the sea routes through which Chinese trade and commercial influence moved across Southeast Asia for centuries. Whether or not China State Shipbuilding Corporation intends the symbolism, these ships travel routes that carry historical weight. The domestic Chinese cruise market, this entire program targets, remains one of the least penetrated large travel markets on Earth. China has hundreds of millions of middle-class travelers who fly internationally, take high-speed trains, and drive domestic tourism revenue at extraordinary scale. But the cruise penetration rate relative to population sits dramatically below what the country's economic and demographic profile would predict. The gap between current behavior and potential demand is the commercial opportunity Adora Cruises is building toward. Orders are placed for 2 additional domestically built vessels, targeting deployment by 2030. The Flora City is not the endpoint of this program. It is the moment the methodology proved itself. Think back to the bathroom tile. The reason that tile matters, the reason every object on every upper deck of a 24-story floating city is logged and measured and balanced against every other object, is that a cruise ship is not really a ship. It is a city. A city that has to remain structurally stable in open ocean, satisfy the simultaneous expectations of 6,000 people, comply with environmental regulations across a dozen jurisdictions, and return to port on a schedule that does not slip. Building that city requires mastery of disciplines that have nothing in common with each other, except that they all have to work at the same time. Europe's 3 shipyards understood this. That understanding is why the club was exclusive for 60 years. And that is why the jump from 30% to 90% domestic supply between the first ship and the second matters more than the ships themselves. The Adora Magic City proved China could enter that club. The Adora Flora City, completing its sea trials in the waters off Shanghai right now, proves something more specific and more significant. The 80% reduction in late-stage rework. The 8-month acceleration on a larger vessel. The supply chain that rebuilt itself in the gap between 2 deliveries. These are not the metrics of a country that struggled to build a cruise ship. They are the metrics of an industrial system that has learned how to build them and is now figuring out how to build them faster. 2 more ships by 2030. The generation after that will arrive with a fully self-developed whole architecture and a domestic supply chain that no longer needs European input at any stage. The tile, the engineer, the model, the math. It started there, in a weight distribution spreadsheet in a Shanghai design office. And it is a long way from finished.